Ian, we're here at Hampden on the back of our AGM. It was a packed room on the back of a packed year. What sticks out for you?
Obviously, record turnover and record profit are key takeaways from 2024. It was a hugely successful year. That happens because we're successful on the pitch. We're a football association, and a lot of that commercial success is driven by obviously qualification for a Euro. That led to the highest ever turnover and highest ever profit, which we've been able to generate and use a large percentage of that to help our pitching in fund and put that towards facilities across the country. So all in all, it's been a hugely successful year.
Yeah, you've touched on it there. A record turnover obviously looks great on a set of financial results, but it's more important what then happens to that money. Can you give us an idea of the kind of areas where that's going to be reinvested to grow the game and maybe make a wider impact on Scottish society?
Ultimately, every penny we generate goes back into football in some way, shape or form. I touched on we launched pitching in at the end of 2024. We stated our ambition to raise £50 million over the next 5 years. The £5 million initial investment from the Scottish FA will be a significant part of that and allows us to really hit the ground running. We've received a number of applications from clubs already. The impact that will have, the benefit that will have to football up and down the country is huge. When we combine that with the money that we've been able to confirm from DCMS, we've got another £8.6 million as our latest instalment. It's significant figures. Over the last 5 years, we're now at close to £60 million has been invested into facilities across the country, both from the DCMS input and the finance that they've been able to give us, and the partner funding that we've been able to leverage, which has touched 37 projects spread right across the width and breadth of Scotland, and it's a key priority for the association to continue to do so.
I know an AGM is often about looking back, but there's a lot to look forward to in the months ahead. National teams wise, a transitional period for both squads. Quite exciting to see a lot of younger players making the breakthrough recently.
Absolutely, and that goes across both squads. We saw the two games Mick McArdle was in charge for. He made a number of changes with the women's A. Mel's continued that trend, and it was really pleasing at the end of the Liechtenstein game to look at the team that was on the pitch when we finished the match. There are a number of young players, number of exciting talent, number of performance school graduates. There's a lot to be looking forward to.
Yeah, men's A wise, I think there was 6 Scottish FA JD performance school pupils in that most recent squad, so that must give you hope. Absolutely.
Player development's a key objective. We launched the transition report last year. We're looking at cooperation agreements which will be in place for the start of this season, which is a vital first step in making sure that our young players get as many opportunities to play as much competitive football as early as possible. We can't stop there. There's a youth review ongoing, and that'll be looking at other improvements we can make. We're looking at best practice elsewhere to understand what that looks like in a Scottish context, but player development as a national association, that has to be a key objective of ours.
In terms of the women's national team, you were in the Netherlands, a great start for Mel.
Yeah, absolutely delighted that the trip wasn't without its trouble, but she overcame that, the players overcame that really well. I was delighted for her. You forget that it's Mel's first real job as a head coach, so it was really important for her to get a good result in her first international window as manager, and she did that. It was a really spirited second half performance in particular, and just showed the talent that's in that squad, and I'm sure they'll take that into the rest of the games this year.
Some of the nuts and bolts of an AGM can be a bit dry, but you got to talk about some of the fun stuff, the road to Euro 2028 and hopefully the road to World Cup 2035 as well. Yeah,
it's amazing to be able to talk about us hosting such significant, major events, major worldwide events. The men's Euros is the third biggest sporting event in the world. In 3 years' time, the tournament will have already kicked off. It'll be here before we know it, and obviously we're looking forward to watching Scotland perform at Hampden in front of a packed stadium. It's a really proud moment to be able to talk about things like that. The Women's World Cup again is a hugely significant sporting event. It's 10 years away, but it will not be too long before it's here. We're still in the bidding process, and we need to get those things finalised with FIFA, but we're working as hard as we can to make sure we do that, because it's a huge milestone for the growth and development of women's football.
One of the ultimate aims obviously is to show the best version of ourselves on these stages, and there's probably 2 key elements that you kept coming back to in your section. The first off ties in with our grassroots facility focus through pitching in. Can you maybe expand on how important that is for us?
Every player that ever plays for Scotland starts on a grassroots pitch. That's the fundamental, and to make sure that we can generate and develop the best players possible, we need to have as many opportunities as we can, and that needs to happen in every corner of the country. And the Pitching In Facilities Fund gives us the opportunity to do that. With the partner funding we can generate, there will be significant investment in the years to come and those investments, those facilities that we're able to put down will play a huge part in developing the next generation of Scotland stars.
And once those young players have had their early touches on a pitch, fallen in love with the game, it's equally important that they get a chance at the other end. How important is it for us to keep encouraging that production line, the conveyor belt of young Scottish talent? Yeah,
absolutely. It's a fundamental objective of ours. Any national association will tell you the same. You know, we don't have the liberty as clubs do of going and buying players. We need to develop our own. We've got a country to pick from. We've got a great history of developing top class talent, and that's something that we need to keep achieving.
The cooperation agreements, obviously a lot of work has gone into that to address the issue. But from a very Scottish perspective, it's not just copying and pasting formulas from elsewhere.
No, and that doesn't work. You know, people use Croatia as an example. Why are Croatia developing better players than we are? But the things that work in Croatia don't translate necessarily to Scotland. We need to have a country-specific solution. We've got our own country, our own culture, our own nuance, and we need to maximise that. We need to harness that and make sure that we have a programme and structures and mechanisms in place that give young players every opportunity to play as much competitive football as early in their career as they possibly can, because we see the benefits of that.
On a similar note, another area that isn't a one-size-fits-all approach, unacceptable conduct is a bit of a hot topic just now, and that's obviously something that is of real importance to us, but something we can't tackle alone.
No, absolutely not. There was a change to our cup rules today which brings us more in line with the SPFL. We've been working very closely with them. We're involved in a government roundtable next week that's going to look at unacceptable conduct and supporter behaviour. We are working hard with stakeholders. It has to be a collaborative approach. The football authorities can do more, the clubs can do more, police on a match day can do more, stewarding teams can do more, the criminal justice system can do more post-event. But I think we need to bring this back to the vast majority of fans that turn up to football love coming to watch their team, love coming to support their team and do it in absolutely the right manner, and we're trying to limit the instances that we've seen, particularly at Hampden, of youngsters having to leave the stadium because they're asthmatic and because of pyro smoke or because of breathing issues or because of injuries that they've sustained at the hands of pyrotechnics. So it's about making the environment as safe as possible for the hundreds of thousands, if not millions, that watch the game on a regular basis and want to do so safely.
And you're not here to be a killjoy, but ultimately you are the guy who gets the reports of these incidents.
Absolutely, and if people talk about the ultra movement, nobody's a problem. We don't have a problem with the ultra movement and the game being as engaging and crowds being as involved and being as energetic and being as loud as possible. But that has to be first and foremost coming from a place of safety, and if that's not the case, then we need to take measures to implement that.
Thanks for your time, Ian. You've got a lot to get stuck into.
Thank you.